Hello everyone, welcome back to these videos I'm making. I thought that I have a lot of time on my hands, so I figured I'd start throwing out some information as I get older and older that I thought, was very interesting to me as I was growing up in the early 2000s. And as a history major, I always like to look at past first source or primary sources for all of my information, especially remembering news articles from 10, 15, 20 years ago. So now for all of you who may not know, there's a device called the Stingray, and this is what we're going to talk about today. So how local police stations have been spying on everybody since 2001. And yes, I mean everybody. So this goes from village police, town police, city police, everybody. The big boys, the feds, everybody, okay, is basically using this. Now, history and invention. The Stingray, also known as a cell site simulator or IMSI catcher, is a surveillance technology used for tracking mobile phone locations and sometimes intercepting calls and text messages. It was developed by the Harris Corporation, an American defense contractor, primarily for military and intelligence purposes. The exact year of its invention is not widely disclosed due to the sensitive nature of its development, but it is known to have been used by law enforcement agencies from at least the early 2000s. The invention location. The Stingray device was invented in the United States, likely at the facilities of the Harris Corporation, which is based in Melbourne, Florida. Once again, a lot of this information is secretly guarded. I would say more through intellectual property rights than maybe classified information, as all of the information I'm getting is using basically like the Wayback Machine or all publicly available information. Okay, so how does it work? The Stingray, which is the device, basically the device in question here, works by simulating or pretending to be a cell tower and tracking nearby mobile phones into connecting to it instead of to a legitimate cell tower operated by service providers. Once a phone connects to the Stingray can collect data from the phone, including its location, metadata about calls and texts, and in some to most cases, the content of the communications, pictures, exactly what the text messages say, recorded call, they can easily record your calls. And this technology exploits vulnerabilities in the GSM or Global System for Communications Protocol, which is used by many mobile networks worldwide. Okay, so and it's not only they're doing this for the bad guys and the drug dealers like they claim, but inadvertently you're getting a lot of innocent people's information as this Stingray, collects all of the cell phone cell phones from the local area. We'll say from like a 1 kilometer to 5 kilometer area, essentially. And now in 2024, I can only imagine the range of the Stingray has increased even more. And with now the usage of AI, the analyzation of all of this information could happen in minutes or even hours to go through thousands or tens of thousands of information about every random day citizens without warrants, by the way. Okay, so how does it work? A Stingray is a mobile device that masquerades as a cell phone tower. It is usually mounted in a police surveillance vehicle, but now they actually most likely have actual fake cell phone towers using this technology. which obviously, as I said before, collects much more information from innocent people along with obviously some bad or nefarious characters. So it is taking dangerous people or drug dealers off the streets, but they're also, for all we know, keeping the other information from the innocent people whose cell phone connected to the Stingray. Unfortunately, if the Stingray was put in their local area. The Stingray system has antennas on the police vehicle or tower to determine the distance and direction of the phone in relation to the Stingray and other cell towers, telling police where the phone is in real time. The intercepting device, known as Stingray, with related antenna and gear, is sold under the names Amberjack, Kingfish, Harpoon, and Rayfish. So it started in the trucks, guys, driving around outside your house and, the vans, or, like sitting outside a drug dealer's house in a flower van and listening in. That's over. Now they're able to have cell phone towers that can collect data from, I'm just guessing here, probably like anywhere from like a 5 to 10 to 20-mile radius, which in some cases would be whole towns. And if you're a local police station, all right, now who has it? Obviously, the boys have it, the boys being the feds, all the Fed agencies have it. But here it says 25 local different police and state departments. I would put that number 25 times probably 10 to 20 now at this point, because it works really good, to be honest, and not many people know actually about this technology. Now the controversy. Used by police departments. United States police departments have been using Stingray devices for surveillance purposes since at least the early 2000s. The exact timeline and extent of their use have been a topic of controversy and legal challenges due to concerns about privacy and the legality of the surveillance methods employed. Some police departments initially used the technology without obtaining warrants, leading to legal battles and court rulings on the constitutionality of such practices. Now, let's take a look at some court cases, which were extremely hard to find. I did not use a Freedom of Information Act, but I found it in other ways. I don't think a Freedom of Information Act would give you much information about this because I do think it may be classified and there's no way to get that information and I don't want to mess with that. Anyways, so everything that I am showing you is publicly available. Now, United States versus Rigmade in 2013. This case is notable as one of the first instances where the use of a stingray was disclosed in court proceedings. Daniel Rigmaiden was accused of tax fraud and located using a stingray device without a warrant, which most were without a warrant, obviously before 2010, 2015. The defense challenged the use of this device without a warrant, arguing it violated the Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures. The judge eventually ruled that the use of the stingray required a warrant, marking a significant legal precedent, but also possibly making police departments hide their use of it and use other means to get the criminal legally instead of obviously getting him through the Stingray, which would mess up the future court case. The second one, United States versus Lambus. In this case, the use of the Stingray was also challenged on Fourth Amendment grounds. Raymond Lambus was suspected of drug trafficking and located using a Stingray device without a warrant. The court ruled that the use of the device without a warrant violated Lambus's Fourth Amendment rights. This case further solidified the requirement for law enforcement to obtain a warrant before using a stingray device in investigations. Now, People versus Mao Lin, 2013. This case involved the use of a Stingray to collect evidence in a terror-related investigation. Obviously, guys, anything terrorism related, you forfeit your right as not a citizen, but you forfeit your rights. So they can do whatever they want to get you. So basically, kind of fuck this guy or F this guy. The case involved the use of a stingray to collect evidence in a terrorism-related investigation. The defense tried to argue that the use of the device constituted an unreasonable search and seizure under the Fourth Amendment. While specific detail of the court's rulings are not always fully disclosed due to the sensitive nature of the technology in the case, it contributed to the ongoing legal debate regarding the use of stingrays and the requirement for warrants. Okay. Other surprising methods police use and how they know who the drug dealers are and can easily track them since the early 2000s. Technology use. Police departments reportedly use GPS tracking devices or other forms of tracking technology embedded in Ziploc bags and similar packaging. So think of all the Ziploc bags you can buy from Walmart, Costco, like Glad and Great Value, or the local brand ones. Most of them had tracking devices early in the early 2000s. Uh, Maybe even up until now. These devices would allow law enforcement to monitor the movement of these items, potentially, keyword, potentially leading to the identification of drug suppliers and distributors. Now, what are the ethical concerns? The use of such tracking technology raised legal and ethical concerns regarding privacy rights and the extent of police surveillance. Critics argued that tracking items like Ziploc bags could infringe upon Fourth Amendment protection rights against unreasonable searches and seizures if conducted without proper warrants. And you're also tracking the movements of normal people, like moms who are packing their kids' lunch, or dads who are storing stuff in the freezer. They can track what's going on with them. All right, now here's an article of what I'm explaining. This is really the only one I could find, as most of this information was scrubbed from the internet. I remember reading this back in 2005 and 2006, but this is the only article I could find. So here's an article of what I'm explaining. You can read it for yourself. Basically, the police around 2010 have used tracking devices not only in prescription pill bottles but as well as Glad small bags or Ziploc bags, usually used for people's lunches and storage of food, sometimes used in the sale of drugs. Sometimes. Was this ever publicized? Nope, because kind of people were unaware of what's going on. Now, here's a news article of proof of what I'm explaining. So here you can see this was from January 17, 2013. I used the Wayback Machine, and this is the only one I could find. So if you want to pause and read this, or just click the link and go to it, it's cool. Now, conclusion. United States police departments have been using Stingray devices for surveillance purposes since at least the early 2000s. The exact timeline and extent of their use have been a topic of controversy and legal challenges due to concerns about privacy and the legality of the surveillance methods employed. Some police departments initially used the technology without obtaining warrants, leading to legal debates and court rulings on the constitutionality of such practices. In summary, the Stingray device is a powerful surveillance tool invented by the Harris Corporation in the United States, used primarily by law enforcement agencies for tracking mobile phones and intercepting communications. It has raised significant legal and ethical questions, particularly regarding privacy rights and the methods by which it gathers information. Overall, while there are discussions and occasional reports about police tracking Ziploc bags for investigative purposes during the 2010s, detailed and widespread information about specific cases or legal outcomes may be limited due to the sensitive nature of law enforcement tactics and ongoing legal debates around surveillance and technologies. So basically, a lot of this is classified. I don't know if you can get a Freedom of Information Act about this. All right, guys, that's it. Take it